That is a fact. 90 more checks. So if you're currently receiving Social Security benefits, you have a friend, relative, parent, little old lady down the street, doesn't matter. 90 more checks. That's all we're going to get at 100%. So you look at your check now and subtract 23% from that. That's the Social Security trustees report that just came out. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it is, what it isn't. One of the things that the people out on social media often say is Social Security is going bankrupt. No, it is not going bankrupt. That's different than getting your benefits reduced, and we'll talk about that today. This is also a live Q&A. Looks like I already got a bunch of questions there, and I've also got a couple of video questions that people sent in. So we'll get into as many questions as we possibly can, but we'll talk about, unfortunately, the bad news here at the beginning, that in fact, yes, you're 90 more checks. So this is July. If you're watching this on a recording a month or 2 months from now, guess what? It's no longer 90. Next month, August 2025, it's going to be 89, and then it'll be 88, and then it'll be 87. So what are we looking at here? So January 2033, that's when the cuts are going to be coming. 23% is what they estimate now, but that really depends on what Congress is doing. The big, beautiful bill also has some things in there that's going to make it probably less than 90 months, but until the Social Security trustees report comes out with their new report next year, then I will adjust it. But as of right now, we've got about 90 checks. Okay, and what's the difference between that and bankruptcy? All right, so what we're talking about here is the fact that, let me go ahead and show you the numbers here. This is part of the Social Security trustees report. In 2024, Social Security got $1.2 trillion coming in. That's a lot of money through FICA taxes, people working, right? Most of it is FICA taxes. 1.1 trillion is through FICA taxes. And then interest. So yes, we don't put the $1.1 trillion in a coffee cup out in the back of, the White House or something. It goes in treasury bonds, just like your 401k, and other countries, invest in treasury bonds. It's the safest investment in the world. So we have it in treasury bonds, and that earns interest. And in 2024, that earned $63 billion of interest. So that's pretty awesome. And taxation of benefits. So for those, the top 50% of people, if you're in the below 50%, you're not paying taxes on Social Security. But for those that do, that goes back into the Social Security Trust Fund. So last year, about $54 billion. That's going to end for a lot of people, or a lot more people. So that's going to be reduced next year. So that's probably going to, so the 90 months might actually technically be maybe 80 or 82 or 83 now. But I'm not going to do the calculations until the Social Security trustees report comes out, because we're not 100% sure. Okay, so 1.2 trillion comes in, 1.3 trillion goes out, and don't know how long you've been running your home, but if you get this much coming in, that much going out, you need to, you either need to borrow it somewhere, which Social Security can't borrow, or you need to dip into your savings. That's exactly what Social Security is doing. They're dipping into their savings. Right now, there was $2.6 trillion of savings. Where'd the savings come from? As we used to say in Texas, all y'all. That's the plural you, by the way, for those people that don't live in Texas, all y'all. So all that money since the 1980s, they raised the retirement age, and there was more people working and all the rest of it. They were putting more money into the trust fund, building up the trust fund, building up the trust fund. And now it got to over $2.6 trillion. And now we're pulling out of the trust fund. So for several years, we're pulling out of the trust fund. This year, if you're getting a Social Security check, about 10% of your Social Security check comes out of that savings, comes out of that trust fund. So that savings is being depleted. Now it's about $2.5 trillion, that number in the bottom, because $103 billion was taken out of the trust fund. And next year, maybe $200 billion will be taken out. And then the next year, it'll be $400 billion taken out. And see how that works? And then the trust fund runs out. And when does the trust fund run out? January of 2033, in 90 more checks. And then when that trust fund runs out, then Social Security can only pay what they have in the bank. And the only thing they have in the bank is 23% less than what you're receiving right now. And this is no grandfathered in type thing where, oh, I'm grandfather. I've been receiving Social Security benefits for years, and so I'll be exempt for this. No, 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 no. Nice, no. Social Security cannot pay more than what they got. And why isn't fixed? Because I did a video on this a few days ago on 40 years of failure. Our politicians failed us for 40 years. The last time they made major changes to protect Social Security for the long term was back in the early 1980s. Since then, they've super small little tweaks, added a few months here. Over the last few months, they've taken a chainsaw to it. I think they borrowed Elon Musk's chainsaw and they take it to it. The Social Security Fairness Act reduced the trust fund by about 6-7 months. The tariffs are going to reduce the trust fund. Someone just sent me a YouTube comment. They says, shouldn't all the money Doge Elon Musk found, shouldn't that replenish the trust fund? Well, number one, he didn't really find any money with Social Security. What happened to those 20 million people that were deceased receiving Social Security benefits? You notice you haven't heard anything about that, right? Because they weren't receiving Social Security benefits. Not a penny was being paid out to people that are over 120 years old. Not a penny. And the comment also asked, well, what about the millions of undocumented immigrants that are here working illegally? Once those kicked out, won't that solve everything? Well, no, it'll make it worse, because people that are in this country illegally, a lot of them do get, the IRS provides them tax numbers, and because the IRS is all about tax. They don't care why you're here. They just want your money. So they pay taxes, or they work under a fake Social Security number and they pay taxes. They'll never get that back, because you can't get retirement benefits, disability benefits, Medicare, unless you're in this country legally. How do I know that? Because I've taken hundreds of thousands of retirement claims and disability claims and Medicare claims, and you can't do it. You cannot get benefits unless you prove that you're in this country legally, U.S. citizen or a green card. So this has been 40 years of failure by the politicians, and obviously because of us, because we failed to get our politicians to fix it. And why have we failed is because of all of the distractions. And we have fallen for every one of them, hook, line, and sinker. On my website, you go to mygovexpert.com. I've got a website here that goes into retirement, disability benefits, survivor benefits, family benefits, Medicare, overpayments, living overseas, Medicaid. But if you go to the one that says myths debunked, it'll tell you all of that. The trust fund was stolen. No, it wasn't stolen. It's still there. It's 100% present and accounted for. Is it going bankrupt? No. Okay, here's the thing about bankruptcy. Social Security will be around here for hundreds of years, unless we decide, which the politicians want us to decide, to give it over to their buddies on Wall Street, and then all bets are off. But if we don't do that, then Social Security will be around here for hundreds of years. Because as long as people are working and paying into Social Security, there will be money to pay out. But how much? That's the issue. So Social Security is not going bankrupt. Bankrupt means you just can't pay anything, basically, right? You can't pay your bills. In this sense, they can pay the bills. They just can't pay all of them. So they're just going to have to cut back. So just like, if you get less money coming to your house, you're not bankrupt. You just have to cut back. No more movies, no more, eating out and stuff. Well, guess what? Americans, we're going to have to cut back. No more movies, no more eating out, maybe not having to pay the rent, electricity. And because we fell for all the distractions for 40 years and we failed to keep our politicians on point and fix this. And now it is at a crisis situation where they're just running down the clock. And when that day comes, they've done nothing and they're all out of ideas. They're running down the clock. And then the closer we get to the 23% cut, the more we will just say, okay, whatever, just do whatever you want. And they're like, yes, that's exactly what we've been waiting for. Wall Street billionaires, come on over here. We got a few $1 trillion that come in every year. People paying. Unfortunately, we've got no more money left over. So they're hoping to give it over to Wall Street before that trust fund runs out, so they can give that, $1 or $2 trillion and get maybe finder's fees or something like that. I don't know. Allegedly. but there's still going to be $1 trillion being paid every year into the Social Security from people actually working. That is, unless we all get replaced by AI, but I guess that's a whole different type of situation. And a final thought is, don't let people tell you this some type of demographic thing. Well, the reason is because we're just not having enough kids. No, that's all BS. The reason is we're living longer. Sorry, but that ain't it. The reason is because we used to make money. In the 1980s, this top chart here, that blue line is wages. You notice it's been flat, essentially adjusted for inflation since the 1980s. And this top line, that's our productivity. We've been paid pretty much the same since the 1980s, but we've been producing more and more and more and more and making somebody a whole bunch of money. And it ain't us. So where does all that extra money go to? Well, it goes to the top 10%. And do they pay taxes on Social Security? Not really. If you're making under $176,100, you pay Social Security FICA tax on every dollar you make. Anything over $176,100, you don't pay FICA tax, Social Security on that anymore. You're tax exempt after $176,100. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's it right there. If we had gotten that money because we were the ones producing more, if we would have got that money, then Social Security would be good for another 100 years, 100% checks, no problem whatsoever. So we either need to start getting paid more ourselves, or we need to get the people that are receiving that money pay FICA tax like the rest of us, Joe Sixpack, Joe Schmoes, Barbara Schmoes, whatever. So, all right, let's get into some questions here. And let's see here. Okie Cooper. Wow, it may help Social Security if Social Security stop and pay divorced spouse wives benefits. I think Social Security should pay just for the survivor spouse. I'm not going to touch that one because you got people, that, are homemakers. They stay home, raise the kids, and they don't work. The other spouse works. And so if something happens and they get a divorce, you expect that person to get nothing. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be very popular on our platform here. So please, everybody, be nice. Be nice to OK Cooper there. Yeah, don't think they were thinking that through. So, but yeah, that would be a way to solve it, is get rid of spouse benefits. And yeah, I don't think they're going to. There was a bill in Congress that was going to means test spouse benefits. So maybe we'll give OK the benefit of the doubt. And they're saying, OK, if spouse means testing all benefits, I guess, just like disability or SSI. That, if you have other income, even if you're, 85 years old and you have other income or resources and they're, it's over $1 million, then you just don't get a check. Thank you for contributing to the social part of Social Security, social as in, society. But that bill, where that bill went to, right? You know about bills, right? So it was just a bill and it didn't go anywhere. There's a couple of bills in Congress right now by John Larson and Bernie Sanders that smash the cap, that will give people more money, particularly the lower income, the people that are struggling right now, will give them more money. It will make Social Security solvent for decades and decades more. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to pass. Politicians just don't want that to happen. So, is anyone else's screens frozen? I certainly hope not. Let's see. Harris. H1 people who worked here, they pay Social Security. They can't get money back, but people need to know that H1 people pay Social Security tax all the time. Yes. Yep. There's about $35 billion that is paid into Social Security by people that are here legally, like the H1, H3, or working illegally under someone else's Social Security card number, or have an ITIN from the IRS that they're working in some chicken processing plant in Topeka or working in the fields of Salinas and stuff, um, that they actually pay into social. They pay taxes, they pay local taxes, they pay obviously fuel taxes and real estate taxes and all these different taxes, estimated about at $90 billion a year. But in terms of Social Security, about $35 billion a year, and it goes into Social Security. So if you kick all those people out, then yeah, it's less money is going to come in. And yeah, you're going to get a cut even sooner. So, Pink Owl, what's up? Okay, yeah. What if millennials have two kids? Yeah, I mean, you can either have more kids or you can pay the kid commensurate with their productivity. So it's if you pay people, if we've been paying people what they've actually produced since the 1980s, then people, their income would have been double. So it's kind of like having two kids, right? So twice as much as going FICA. So I'm currently 66 years old. With my wife is 65. Have worked for more than 30 years. Do we both receive Social Security retirement benefits when we retire? Yeah, yeah. If you were both working, even if my wife is have worked for more, yeah. If you both working, even if you haven't, unless okay Cooper gets his way, your spouse will also receive benefits. So if you've been working for 30, you just need to be, for Social Security to be insured, you had to be working 10 years. So you had to pay into the system for 10 years, 40 quarters. You don't need 30. You probably heard 35. Oh, you need 35 years. No, you need 10 years, 40 quarters. And the 35 years is about how your benefits are calculated. So the Social Security calculates your benefits based on your high 35 years of earnings. So if you've only got 30 years, then there's just 5 years of zero there. It brings everything down a little bit. But no, you just, yeah, if it's you're both been working 30 years, you're good. But if let's say your wife, you worked 30 years and your wife didn't work and she, stayed home, or you stayed home, whatever the case may be, then that person can get benefits on your record. So I just did a video, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, on all things spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, independently entitled divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits. So make sure you watch that video that I did yesterday if you or your friends have anything, questions about all of that. Let's see here. My wife applied for SSDI and was denied. She put in her appeal. Good. Fight back. Always fight back. And long till she gets an answer. And if denied again, what's the next step? Okay. So, she was denied the first time. So that means she is on her reconsideration phase. So I've got it in there. If you go onto my website, disability, it tells you about all, let me get rid of this here. So it gets in all the disability and appeals, the appeals process. So there's 4 levels of appeals. So you're in the reconsideration. The reconsideration, so basically it's a super easy form. You filled out the SSA 561, maybe the 3441, and you submitted it. And okay, so it takes, under normal circumstances, that's another way politicians are trying to destroy Social Security, is destroy customer service, which they're doing a phenomenal job at. So congratulations, politicians, on both sides. I'm not giving any of you guys a break. One side definitely doesn't want Social Security around. The other side says they do, but they don't do anything effectively. So there's that. But under normal circumstances, a reconsideration up to 6 months. But this ain't no normal circumstance. This is, Elon Musk and Doge went through there with a sledgehammer and a chainsaw and, got rid of a lot of people. So it's unfortunate. But we're coming up with a game plan. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff. We are coming up with a game plan to fight back on all of this. So if you've already done the reconsiderations phase, the second one, and you're waiting for the hearing, then you're talking another year. So it's completely, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, unsat. So unsatisfactory. So we need to do something about that. Nothing is going to happen to Social Security. Okay. Very optimistic individual. Um, I in one respect, yeah, it's kind of like the old Rambo movie was Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, they did. He won by attrition, right? He just wore everybody else out. So that's how it's just the house is on fire and they're just going to let it burn. They're not going to. They're right now. The current administration is not doing anything. Um, well, they're doing it kind of behind, but they're not doing any frontal attacks on Social Security. They're not raising the retirement age or cutting benefits right now. They're just letting it die of its own accord. They are around the other side, tariffs raise COLA, and COLA, that means more money out of the trust fund, and no taxes on Social Security. That's also another assault on the trust fund. So there are indirect assaults on the trust fund. So it's probably not going to be 90 months. We're probably looking about 80 or so, but that's that's too much speculation. So I'll just wait for the Social Security trustees report to come out on that. So, Ohio farmer, Dr. Ed, you keep saying poo, saying like the rest of us, but your retirement or a large portion of it comes from your Social Security employment is not like the rest of us. Um, okay, not sure. Yeah, I'm still working, so yeah. Um, so but doesn't mean I can't help you protect your Social Security and my Social Security and my wife's Social Security. And so, um, yeah, so I'm not sure what that means. So I should just shut up because I don't 100% depend on Social Security. Okay. All right. Good luck with that. Please just give me a link or help with my parents who got denied SSI because of my mistake. If you just make some dumb mistake, forget to, get the forms back in time or forget to check this box, that's another thing that the big, beautiful bill, the beautiful part of that is not to help you with that type of stuff. They delayed the help that was supposed to come and they said, no, it's beautiful for us. It's beautiful for us not to help you, even though we're, government employees or civil servants and they're supposed to be there to serve the people. But the big beautiful bill, they have decided that no, that's not beautiful enough. We don't want to help people. So it's all on your own. It's all on our own. But we've got a plan. But in your particular case right now, SSI, that's the welfare-based program. SSI, supplemental security income, low income, low resources. If you've got issues with that, on my website, you can check it out. SSI, again, SSI is not Social Security. It is supplemental security income. It is a welfare-based program that has different eligibility requirements. So if you put down the wrong numbers and said that your parents have, $10,000 in the bank instead of $1,000 in the bank, then you just need to correct it and say, hey, I messed up. All right, let's see here. Friend gets Diane. Oh, Diane's the first hero of the day. Anybody that says a friend, a little old lady down the street, my relative needs this, so our first hero of the day. Friend gets Social Security, has 12% held back, and gets refunds every year. She was suggested to keep doing this and file taxes. I could get that deduction. Does that help get more dollars beyond? No, it just basically she did the W-4V, submitted the form of voluntary tax withholding. And what most people do is, again, about 50% of people don't pay taxes on, Social Security at all. But talk to your accountant, the tax person, and if she is, she is getting 12% withheld, and if she wants to get a big check the next year, then yeah, continue. But if she wants to get that money ahead of the game rather than, I guess, loaning it to the government for 12 months, then tell her to do a W-4V. And they just changed it last year where you didn't have to fill out the little slip thing. You can actually call the 800 number and do it over the phone. So she can do it from 12%. She can do 7%. Yeah, I think 7% is the next category. So she can just do it down, and that way she'll get that more money every month. She just won't get that big check. So it really depends on, how she wants to do it. So Can you speak on what you think the future of Advantage plans will be? Oh gosh. Um, yeah, I've been, if you want to see what privatization of Social Security is, that's, the privatization of Medicare is Medicare Advantage. You don't go through Medicare. You have to go through your Medicare Advantage health insurance company, and they have the prior authorizations, and they have, networks, and those are changing all the time. And I don't have to tell you about any of that because there's all kinds of stuff in the news and TikTok and all the rest of it. Doctors complaining about, prior authorizations. A person's passed out on the operating table, and the insurance company calls up and says, have they tried walking it off? But Dr. Oz is a big fan of Medicare Advantage plans. So there's that. And there is an idea to make it, there's a bill in Congress. So if you don't want this done, then you need to call your congressional representatives, which we're setting up a program for that within the next month. Hopefully it comes out. But the bill says you will automatically, once you apply for original Medicare Part A and Part B, then they will automatically stick you in a Medicare Advantage plan. You might be able to change it, but I think the law says you can't change it. The bill that they're proposing will say, no, they're going to stick you in whichever one they want. And then you can't change it for a year or 2 years or 3 years or something. It's the most, yeah, it's written by the health insurance companies, allegedly. So anyway, Dr. Weir turned into DCR in October 2024 and didn't hear from SSA when I expected another CDR. Thank you. Okay, yeah, DCR, I'm like, yeah. You mean a CDR? Yeah, continuing disability review. Yeah, if, again, I always talk about CDRs, so you probably checked out the CDR thing. The fact that on CDRs, those are budget driven. So if your local office doesn't have a budget to deal with a CDR, even though they send you the packet and they send you the whole packet, you fill it out, you stress it out, and oh my gosh, am I filling out this right? Oh my gosh, when are they going to stop my disability? And you fill it and you return it, and then that local office doesn't have any more money to process it, so they just basically shred it, all that work and for nothing. So yeah, and that no news is good news. So that's always a thing. I worked for a large major bank for 23 years, and my wage only went up a total of $8 in 23 years. We were always being told to produce more, get more done. But I guess the good thing is, those the CEOs of the bank and all the rest of it, yeah, they made out right. I'm sure, they only got an $8 increase as well, right? In the big beautiful bill, there is a for all those people that are going to get Medicaid cut and food stamps cut and Medicare, which is also coming, the cuts, the consolation prize is there's a big tax deduction for private jets. So if you can't get Medicaid, then at least your private jet is going to be covered. So there's that. So congratulations. Hello all, brief visit. I plan on bringing up the PAYGO Act and the mandatory Medicare cuts. Also fact that Congress needs to raise the FICA cap. Thanks, Dr. Ed, for the stats at the opening of the show. You're welcome. And a member too. You're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so the PAYGO Act, for those new people, we've got a really tight community here. So a lot of people, not sure why, but they watch my video every day, which has to be excruciating. So it's nice that we added viewer questions in there to break it up a little bit. But the PAYGO Act is a law that basically says anytime like a reconciliation bill, like the big beautiful bill passes, and if it causes a deficit, then there has to be automatic sequestration, which basically means you got to find the money someplace else. And they can't touch Social Security in that particular respect. They can't touch the Veterans Affairs. Medicare is the one they're going to mess with. And who's in charge of that? Russell Voigt, the Office of Management of Budget, one of the guys that wrote Project 2025. He's the guy that's going to decide what gets cut. And he is going after Medicare big time. So that's gonna start probably more than anything sooner than anything else. But we're gonna keep up on that. I had his lease, his bank statements, everything showing his resources well, no below the requirements. Okay, so this was an SSI type thing. So yeah, you just reach out to them and they can do a review on it. Just to if you were denied, if you actually got the technical denial, that is, or not a technical denial. I guess it might be a technical denial. Um, so if you got the denial, the actual denial letter, and it says your parent is not eligible because of income, resources, whatever the case may be, and you disagree with that, or um, they had this resource and now they've gotten rid of it or whatever, things change, then you just apply again. So no problem, just apply again. Jonah, ChatGPT seems to think there's a 40% chance they will kick it to 2029 and then implement a hybrid approach, depending on who's in the majority of Congress. Um, yeah, a hybrid approach in the sense of raising kind of the retirement age a little bit, making some of the benefits needs based, income based, and raising the retirement or raising the FICA on some. That's one of the things the previous president was talking about. He wanted to not smash the FICA cap, but raise it. So it's basically like it would for this year. It'd be if you make up to $176,100, you pay a percentage on every penny you make to Social Security FICA tax. From that to 400,000, you don't. And then from 400,000 over, then those people they start paying FICA tax like the rest of us. So that was kind of his hybrid approach, to, not get I guess the middle class, make sure those people are joining in on getting it passed. So, which, hey, it's politics, you got to do. Gloria, planning on going from full-time to part-time. Want to collect my Social Security benefits when I switch over sometime in October. Any suggestions on when I should apply? Yeah, if you're going to start in October, about 2 or 3 months before. Number one thing you need to start doing now is going into Social Security, ssa.gov, set up a My Social Security account, and check your earnings record. That's the most important thing. Again, that's how they determine how much benefits you're going to get through the rest of your life, is how much you actually paid into Social Security. So if those numbers aren't right in your Social Security account, then you're not going to get the correct benefit amount. So you have to make sure that's correct. And then if it's all good, then a couple of 3 months before you can file online, or call and schedule an appointment and get your benefits started. So easy, easy, easy. As long as you know you're getting the right benefits, that's the problem. People, it's the old, all I have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? People think Social Security is only retirement. That's why I did another video a few days ago talking about the 40 or so programs that Social Security has: independently entitled divorced spouse, DAC benefits, child and care benefits, MQGE, all of those. So MSP, and so we talked about all those, RibDib, and so we talked about all those a few days ago. And a lot of people are just, oh, Social Security is Social Security cards and retirement benefits, so I guess that's all I get, and they miss money. So I've got a couple, just 2 video questions. So let's watch.
I have a question regarding the divorce independent spousal support, Social Security. Uh, it says something about special circumstances regarding getting remarried. Um, I got remarried like 25 years after my divorce, and would I still be able to get that benefit from my ex spouse?
Okay, so independently entitled divorce spouse or divorce spouse benefits in this particular case is exactly the same. If you were married to someone, if you had 3 ex marriages, if you're now single, you can get benefits on any one of those, whichever one's the highest. So when you go to file Social Security, that's what they ask you. Or were you ever married to anybody for 10 years or longer, or that ended in death? And if you say 3 times, then they go through all 3 of them and see which one's the highest. It doesn't matter whether you were married, once or twice or 3 times after that. So doesn't matter at all. You're still entitled to those benefits if the calculations and everything, and you meet the, the time requirements and all. I've got another video question. Didn't show her face, but it was a good question. So let's check it out.
I'm Lydia. I'm reaching out to you, Lord, for back in 2018. I was 61 years of age. I became disabled, and I was approved on my own account. Then my husband passed away in April of that year. Ever since then, I was calling Social Security once every 3 months. I would call them and ask them, are there any benefits that I may be entitled to? And I never got a straight answer from them. They finally just got approved just recently, and I feel that I've been cheated out of 6 years since 2018 from the time my husband passed away for me to receive those benefits. Please advise. What can I?
Okay, this is a good question. She talks really, really fast like I do. So anyway, so she thought she was entitled to benefits. She called Social Security for months, and they told her incorrect information. And then she finally got a hold of someone that knew what they were talking about, which is difficult now. Elon Musk has, kicked out a lot of the really, really senior people in Social Security, but they finally got it correct. They finally figured it out. So awesome. But she's like, y'all should have done this right 6 months ago. So what you have is, it's called a protective filing. So I would reach out to them, probably do it. I would do it officially, fill out an SSA 561. It's a request for reconsideration. If you go onto my website, the form's there, but you can just type it in SS 561. Super, super easy to fill out. It takes like 5 minutes. You download that form, print it off, and you just put your name, address, social security number, phone number, and you just put, I called y'all 6 months before this started, and I asked y'all, and y'all told me no. And if you got like if you went into the office, you're recorded in what's called VIP, the internal, when you go in there, and it's in the system, so they have proof that you were there. If you had called on the 800 number, grab your phone and look for that call log, in case they ask. Usually it's not a big deal. And just say, hey, I called y'all 6 months before, and y'all told me I wasn't entitled to benefits. And now you're saying, I am, so I lost 6 months of benefits. Am I entitled to that 6 months? Because I am protected, maybe because for some other reason, the calculation amount or something you weren't. But if you were actually eligible for benefits 6 months prior, then yes, I would demand those benefits. Yes, absolutely. But you have to remember, anytime you take benefits early from Social Security, then those benefits are reduced. So if, it depends on your calculation. If it's a survivor benefits, kind of a weird calculation. Sometimes it doesn't change depending. But if it does change, that means if you start your benefits 6 months early, it's going to reduce it by those 6 months. Usually not very much, but just kind of, I want to throw that out there. But then again, you'll also get 6 months worth of extra checks. So there's that. Will Social Security go bankrupt? No, it will not go bankrupt. As long as there's people working and paying into Social Security, it will pay out money. But the problem is, how much is it going to pay out? Is it going to pay, 100% of what you're getting, or 80%, or 50%, or 30%, or 20%? So Social Security is not going bankrupt. So again, unless we're all replaced by robots and AI, and then, then there's going to be no money coming in, but there's always going to be somebody working. So Bonnie, that's going to depend on the total amount of, okay, somebody, Penelope is here. I think I'm missing Penelope recently. She is, I think she worked for Social Security, and she always, if she hasn't, she knows her stuff. She helps people out here. So Penelope, we're going to need you with this new platform movement we're starting here. You're going to be crucial for us. So hopefully you've got some time to help us out. Steve, when collecting your Social Security benefits at your retirement age, and you have savings account of $200, $200,000, could that offset your benefit? Nope, not at all. You can have $200 billion and collect your Social Security benefits. No issues whatsoever. Since 1935, Social Security has always said, we want you to have that extra money and income and pensions and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't affect you. For retirement benefits, spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, independently entitled spouse benefits. If you're talking about SSI, which is the welfare-based program, then yeah, you can't get SSI, but that's not what you're talking about. So let's see here. Dublin, I am concerned about the BBB. I have many disabled friends who do not understand how this will affect them directly. Hold that thought. We're working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. 18 hours a day. I'm working on it. That's why I look a little bit more tired than normal. Yeah, about 4 hours of sleep last night, but we're working on it. So stay tuned. We're gonna do our best to help them out. Are they still talking about changing the way they calculate Social Security? Yeah, they've been talking about that forever. Social Security, how it's calculated. Nice person. Oh, I like your, I like that name. But yeah, so it's basically it's called your PIA is determined by your AMI, your average index monthly earnings. So they take the high 35 years of earnings and they average it and they index it for kind of a wage index. So, earnings in, 1980, they kind of, index it for kind of today's money. And then they say, okay, over the high 35 years, the average indexed monthly earnings is $4,000, let's say. And then they multiply by these bin points, 90%, 32%, 15%. And that's how they come up with your PIA. So yeah, so they've been talking about messing around with the calculations for a long time. So I have an appointment August 16th. They told me that I have 0 for child auxiliary and SSDI, but online calculator says my family max is $1,295. How can I find accurate numbers when I don't know how to find the PIA? Yeah, you can just ask them the PIA. So basically the family max is, and I've got it on my website there. Maybe that's where you did the calculator. It's, so let's say, your family max is $2,000, which is the maximum amount that could be paid out to that family, the immediate family. It doesn't affect, previous divorced spouses or anything. It's only to that family. So let's say the family max is $2,000 and you're receiving $1,000 a month. So 2,000 minus 1,000, that is $1,000 left over to divide amongst, children. So, or spouse, child in care. So, I've been hearing this since I was a teenager. I know it, right? Yes, the Social Security Trust Fund, the Social Security Trustees report has been telling us for 40 years, hey, we're on the Titanic and yeah, we see an iceberg. Hey, Captain, hey, politicians, maybe we should tweak it a little bit to the left. And 39 years ago, they said, hey, Captain, politicians, we still see that iceberg coming. Are y'all thinking about going to the left a little bit? And then 5 years pass and same, and then 10 years pass and same. And here we are 40 years later. And yeah, unfortunately, there's no time to tweak a little bit left anymore. We're gonna, yeah, we're gonna hit a part of it. Whether we're gonna sink is, why are ads showing up beside you? Yeah, it's just YouTube. I want mine now because I'm going to hell. Oh, they tell me. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, Ed, right now I don't have any issues with my Advantage plan. You just have to stay on top of things. Yes, absolutely. Chapter helps out a lot, but I'm fairly healthy now. That may change if I get a serious illness. Yes. I always recommend Medicare supplement plans, Medigap plan, same thing, a plan N or a plan G or F if you've been on it for a while. But 51% of people get a Medicare Advantage plan because either they don't know of the options or it's just those other options aren't in their budget. And if it's not in your budget, then it's not in your budget. So Medicare Advantage plans, you just have to stay up on it. Just have to stay up on it and remember those change every year. So I hear all the time, oh, I've had my same plan for, 5 years. No, you haven't. You've had that plan since January 1st of this year. You had another plan last year. Maybe it was the same name and the same company and you still got the same card, but everything else is different, So you might have had a Corvette and last year, but, January 1st, they stuck a, a Chrysler Cordova in there with the was it Ricardo Monteblanc with the what's the leather seats. Um, anyway, so yeah, those change every year. You just have to keep up on it. And if they deny you for whatever reason, prior authorizations, you have to make sure you fight. And that's a great thing. That's why my son and I chose Chapter to help you all out if you need help. They have that member success team. If you have a problem finding a doctor, if you get a prior authorization, you need to fight, you call them up and they help you out. So it's awesome. And their help is 100% free. And they also support this live Q&A. So why should the few and the 177th be excluded? Yeah, it was just a political a way to get the middle class to support the legislation, and I guess more importantly to get the other side of the political party to not say, "Hey, we're raising taxes on the middle class." So I think it was more of a political calculation. So we have a great community here. Yes, I agree, and just wait. It's going to get a million times better here coming up. Let me find some people that I haven't seen before. I think the lady in the last video said she called 6 years ago, not 6 months. How far back were they? Oh, did she say? Yeah, it was hard to hear. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I had a individual. He was actually the guy who invented the California roll. But yeah, he had went into the Social Security office about 3 or 4 years earlier, and they didn't treat him right, and we got him back 3 years of benefits. So no, if you prove that you were protected at that time, then yeah, then absolutely, you go back and do the full thing. And if they say something like, if you say, no, I've got proof here, and I was into the office, and it's in there, and I'm entitled to the 6 years of benefits, and I know it's going to reduce my benefit by 6 years, but I still want those 6 years of benefits. And if they say something like, oh, okay, oh yeah, yada yada yada, okay, we'll give you 6 months, we'll give you a year, then I would suggest say, oh, okay, cool, thank you. Get the money, you'll get the decision letter. And on that decision letter, you just fight again. But at least you got the money to start with, rather than saying, oh, no, I'm going to fight. You just go ahead and take the money to begin with, and then you go to the next level, the administrative law judge level. That one, unfortunately, takes some time. But if they say, the judge says, oh, yeah, no, give her the extra 5.5 years back, then they have to give her the other 5.5 years back. So I'm not sure he understands that the first video caller's question. As I understand her, she was remarried, so no, she isn't eligible for former spouses. Yeah, if she is still currently married, right? But yeah, she has to be single, not married right now. But a lot of people mess that up, and a lot of people aren't receiving the benefits they need, is because, oh yeah, I was married in my 20s and 30s, but I got remarried. Okay, all right. But are you still currently married? Oh no, but I did remarried. I divorced. I was only remarried for another 3 years, and I got divorced. But I've been single for the past 30 years. But I can't get the first X because I got remarried. No, you got remarried, but you're no longer married now, so you can go back on that first one. So if Penelope is writing this, so I misspoke. So if Penelope caught me, then thank you, Penelope. I appreciate it. If I wasn't clear about that, thank you. I get Social Security disability. I have guardianship of a non-related child. Get no support or government assistance for her. Yeah. If you have a child, there's a lot of people that have grandchildren that they're taking care of. If you have someone like that, they can get benefits. If you're getting Social Security disability, SSDI, and you have a child, a dependent like that, under the age of 18 or became disabled before the age of 22, then you can get benefits for that person. But you have to adopt that person. If I know this doesn't apply to you because you said it's a non-related child, but grandparents, if they're receiving benefits, the grandparents are receiving benefits and they're taking care of the grandchild, they don't have to adopt the grandchild if the parents are deceased or disabled. So A lot of people don't realize that. So, but on that one though, the guardianship and all that, even though there's nothing from the Social Security Administration, check your state or your county and things like that. That's a good thing that we need to add to, yeah, our project that we're working on, that type of stuff. So, okay, thank you for that. Well, but definitely check your state, check your county, check your city, and see if there's anything like that. Because there's all kinds of different. There's a not one of the things is called non-needy caretaker. In the state I worked, before I worked for Social Security, I worked for the Department of Social Services, and there was a problem called non-needy caretaker. And states have decided, okay, if there's children out there that nobody's, taking care of and stuff, then I guess the state, steps up and takes care of, facilities and different type of things, right? But they would rather keep it, if someone is willing to do that, they might, compensate you for doing that because it actually saves everybody money and they're with someone that really cares about it rather than a stranger and all this kind of stuff. So the states the good states, I guess, yeah, they really push that. It's called non-needy caretaker. So I would reach out to the state or the county, whichever one administers it, and check that out. So Esteban, hi. My wife is 5 years older than me. If I claim my Social Security at 62, will her spousal benefits be on the amount that I get or on the amount that I would get at 67? It's always based on the amount you would receive at 67 years old. So at your full retirement age, it's not based on how much you're actually receiving. It's based on your full benefit amount. So, but surviving spouse benefits, that could affect surviving spouse benefits. So surviving spouse benefits are based on when their surviving spouse starts those benefits and sometimes when you started those benefits. So, but in terms of current spouse, no. Yeah. Okay, I already answered that. You Are Fearless asks, does SSA have anything for unpaid live-in caregiver? My brother is live-in for our parents. No, unfortunately. Again, there are some states, I know California, Colorado has some where they kind of the same type of thing for if you're taking care of a relative, elderly or something like that, IHISS, I think it's called in California, that they will pay, they'll pay for someone to take care of someone that needs care. And if it turns out to be a relative, they say that's even better. So check out your state, but in terms of Social Security, no. If lower earning filed 2 years before their FRA can no longer get 50% of their earner FRA unless been taking care of disabled child. Okay, so yeah, if you have someone that files 2 years before the full retirement age, then if you continue to get those checks, then yeah, it's always going to be reduced. The disabled child is not based on your benefit amount. It is based on your PIA, how much you would have received if you did wait there. So, all right. A lot can change in the world and politics in 90 checks time. Don't fret, but save money. Haha. Yes. And Summer BC, don't fret, save money, and take action. And that's the reason why politicians haven't done anything for 40 years is because we didn't make them. Because a lot of us were distracted on, oh, the Social Security Trust Fund is stolen. It was given to the, this country or these people that are not entitled, or it's just fake IOUs. They've been saying that since 1935. And we keep saying, oh. I did one on Jeffrey Epstein the other day, the Epstein files and Social Security. So it's all these people outside of government, all these conspiracy theories and podcasters talking about, oh, the files. When we become part of the swamp and we get in there and we've got those things, we're gonna blow the roof off of everything. And then crickets, right? Same thing with Social Security. Oh, it's all IOUs. It's all 20 million people are receiving Social Security benefits that are over 120 years old. There's 200-year-old people receiving Social Security benefits. And then Elon Musk, Okay, where's the money, Elon? He found zero because it didn't exist. So unless they, yeah. What'd you do with the money? It didn't exist, did it? No, didn't exist. So I said that from day one. Elon, you're looking at the wrong number. You're looking at the wrong database. Yeah. It's like looking at the driver's license and saying, I compare it to when you go to a restaurant and you're going to pay, you got to put your credit card in that little slot, pull out your driver's license and try it. That's what Elon Musk was trying to do. He was trying to use his driver's license. Well, with him, I guess he could since he could buy the restaurant. But anyway, the rest of us can't. If they do cut it, should it be across the board of all taxpayer pension and Social Security? We can't let the government single out just one sector of taxpayer funded retirement, 5% from all. No, it's going to be 23% from everyone. So unless they change the law, because the law is if Social Security doesn't have money in the bank to cover the checks for this year, then they say, okay, we've got, X amount of money and we've got 70 million people. We just have to divide what we got left by 70 million. And if that's a 23% cut, then that's a 23% cut. So there is no grandfathered in or anything like that. So Betty, can I opt out of having insurance and pay nothing? So you're probably talking about Medicare. Yeah, we used to say in the Marine Corps, you don't have to do anything in life, but the repercussions are if you decide, Part A is free. I know what you're trying to. You don't want to pay the $185. Okay. Part A of Medicare covers your hospitalizations. That's zero premium for 99.9% of the people. Part B, that's once $185, and you don't want to pay the $185. So yes, you can refuse Part B if you want it and save yourself $185. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you'll lose that. If you have a Medicare Supplement plan, you'll lose that. If you have a prescription drug plan, you'll lose that. And if you change and you won't have any health insurance, in case something happens, you'll have the doctor, you'll have the hospital. But people say, well, if I ever go to the hospital, I've got hospital. Yes, you do. So that covers the hospital. But if a doctor comes in and, does the surgery, then if that's a $100,000 surgery, you owe the doctor $100,000 because that's covered by Part B. The hospital charges, the stay in the room and all that kind of stuff, that's covered by Part A. But the actual surgery or physical therapy and all that other kind of stuff is covered by Part B. So if you decide to get rid of Part B, that's fine. If you got $1 million, to cover everything, then go for it. But if you ever decide to sign up for Part B later, then you're going to get penalized for the rest of your life, unless you have creditable coverage. If you have health insurance from current work, yours or your spouse's, and that employer has 20 or more employees, then you don't have to have Part B. And then when you stop working, you or your spouse stop working in the future, then you can sign up for Part B and there's no penalty whatsoever. So why does Social Security allow limited companies to push their cost of doing business onto the Social Security, yet insurance companies do not share the profits? Long-term disability. Oh, okay. My long-term disability told me they would not approve me until I filed for Social Security. Yes, yep, pretty much. I mean, insurance companies, why was Medicare started in the first place back in 1965 under Johnson? Insurance companies fought it. They're like, oh, no. And they're like, oh, wait a second. So what you're telling us, government, is that people with health insurance, they will pay premiums to us for decades while they're young and usually not sick, so we'll make all that money in premium. But when they get old or disabled, you'll take over for us? Where do we sign? So that's the only reason Medicare, one of the big reasons Medicare came into existence in the first place. If health insurance companies didn't want it, they were fought for it. But they're like, okay, we get to keep premiums for decades, and then when people actually get old and they probably have to have stuff done, you'll take over and we'll be able to pocket all that money. Heck yeah. Am on SSDI and workers' comp. My case closed in February. I still don't get my SSDI payment. I called the office and they said they're doing the calculations here and they're going to pay me. So yeah, that's a little bit different calculation. I'm sure they sent you the form that you had to send to the workers' comp to find out how much the benefit amount is. And so, yeah, they're doing those calculations. But February, yeah, no, that's too long. Yeah. Uh, it's time. Yeah, February. It's time you reach out to your politician and say, "Hey, I've been waiting since February. I need my check. What's going on? And why aren't you supporting Social Security and saving it from cuts in the future and improving customer service?" So, what's your issue? All right, we are over an hour, and as usual, I've got tons of questions I wasn't able to get to. So I will be back again tomorrow. I'll come up with another topic and we'll talk about that for 5 or 10 minutes and I'll answer a bunch of questions. But as you can see, if you do a video question, if you're new, just go to my website, mygovexpert.com. And in the bottom left, you'll see a little camera icon. You click it and you can click it and you can record a video and I will respond to your question tomorrow. All right, y'all.